Nuclear weapons by Romero. Nuclear weapons have been an ongoing issue throughout our history. Unfortunately, it is difficult to determine how many nuclear weapons each country has because various countries, such as North Korea, do not want to allow the specific amount of nuclear weapons to be announced and known to the world. It all began in 1898 with the discovery of uranium by two chemists known as Pierre and Maria Curie. After much dilemma and insight on how to use uranium in producing nuclear weapons, the first fusion bomb was tested on November 1st, 1952, by the United States in an operation known as Operation Ivy. Similarly, the United States initiated two nuclear bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. With other similar events playing into fear of nuclear weapons, the Cuban Missile Crisis arose, as well as possible use of nuclear weapons in the Cold War. Eventually, all this fear of nuclear weapons led to a treaty being signed known as the Outer Space Treaty, which was signed on January 27, 1967. Many people may ask, what are nuclear weapons? Nuclear weapons are explosive devices whose destructive potential derives from the release of energy that accompanies the splitting or combining of atomic nuclei. It is also described as the most potent explosive device ever invented. Their destructive effects include not only a blast equivalent to thousands of tons of TNT, but also blinding light, searing heat, and lethal radioactive fallout. This following image shows examples of rockets from North Korea that could hit the United States soil within 5 years. This next image is an example of a nuclear missile in India. Nuclear weapons can cause many harmful effects to the planet. If nuclear weapons were to be used, the world would have many problems with the environment. For starters, the actual testing of equipment pollutes the environment in great measures. Biological warfare can produce many harmful effects such as deadly bacteria, viruses, and toxins. Similarly, chemical weapons production facilities can create an issue for the environment. For example, in the 1950s, there were 2,000 ducks and other waterfowl killed as a result of dumping unprotected earthen reservoirs into contaminated groundwater. Scholars such as Alan Robark, a professor at Rutgers University, predicts if nuclear bombs were to be used, the sky would turn gray, explosions would block out the sunlight, there would be a cooling of the planet, and this would essentially produce a climate change quickly entering into a nuclear winter, where it would be colder than the Little Ice Age due to fires being created and smoke entering the stratosphere, which blocks the sun. Now let's look closely at the world's top competitors. According to a study in 2012, the top 5 owners of nuclear weapons are Russia with 10,000, the United States with 8,500, France with 300, China with 240, and finally, the United Kingdom with 225. The exact amount for other countries such as North Korea and Iran are still. There have been many proposed solutions to ban or restrict the use of nuclear weapons. There are 3 major acts that have been proposed to disarm nuclear weapons throughout the world. The first solution is the new Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, proposed in 2010. Also known as the START, it aims to reduce the nuclear weapons arsenal of the United States and Russia. The treaty has been signed by President Barack Obama and Russian President Medvedev. This new treaty will cut the number of strategic nuclear weapons by 30% and re-establish essentially verification measures to renew the transparency between the world's largest nuclear powers. Together, the USA and Russia poses more than 95% of all nuclear weapons. A second solution is the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. This treaty strikes a basic deal. The 5 nuclear powers, USA, UK, France, Russia, and China, would eventually disarm, and the non-nuclear states would not even pursue nuclear weapons at all. This treaty permits all states to reserve the right to nuclear energy for civilian purposes, such as providing energy. In 1970, the United States ratified this treaty. The third solution we will look at is a Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, also known as the CTBT. This is a multilateral treaty prohibiting the testing of nuclear weapons. By banning nuclear explosion, the treaty seeks to prevent the harmful effects of radioactive fallout on society and the environment. The treaty also intends to prevent new countries from acquiring and testing nuclear weapons technology and discouraging the production of new types of nuclear weapons. The CTBT puts international norms against testing into binding international law and represents a critical move towards nuclear disarmament. The Senate considered this treaty in 1999, but ratification efforts failed. The Obama administration supports the treaty and have stated efforts are underway to achieve these ratifications. In conclusion, in my humble opinion, I believe the best solution is the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. This is the best solution because it works towards eliminating nuclear weapons completely. It also uses nuclear energy in a constructive and well-productive manner as providing energy to the public. Additionally, it forces the 5 main nuclear powers to stand down. And as for the states that don't have sources to nuclear power, they are unable to get it in the future. There are many nuclear weapons facilities throughout the world. Many of these are heavily guarded and prohibited to enter. CNN reported on March 23, 2014, an elderly nun who may face jail time due to trespassing a nuclear weapons facility. Let's take a closer look at the news report.
This is Sister Megan Rice. She turns 84 years old on Friday. Last year, she joined 2 nuclear weapon activists, and armed with only wire cutters and flashlights, they cut fences and broke into what was supposed to be the most secure uranium processing and storage facility in the country. CNN's Joe Johns is live in Washington with more on this story. Good morning.
Good morning, Carol. This is a story that's shocking no matter what side of the nuclear weapons debate you're on. We're not talking about teenage anarchists here. Sister Megan Rice is 84 years old, Catholic nun. Her accomplices in this break-in at the Y-12 nuclear weapons facility in Tennessee are 57 years old and 63 years old, respectively. They're essentially anti-war activists who say they did this to draw attention to what they see as the unlawful production of nuclear weapons. In July of 2012, they cut through security fences, sprayed peace signs on one of the secure buildings, and Sister Rice could get a sentence that lands her behind bars for the rest of her life, up to 30 years. The first question, of course, is how did they get in? The security at Y-12 is unbelievably tight. In fact, I've been stopped on the outside of Y-12 with a camera crew just driving around the perimeter, not even trying to get inside. But somehow, these 3 people were able to get all the way in. An Inspector General investigation has said there was a level of ineptitude involved in that, just allowing the breach of the facility. But even beyond that, there's a question of whether Sister Rice should get 30 years for this. Her lawyers have argued that she should get leniency because she's a nuclear protester and not a terrorist. Now, the government is arguing that these protesters should get a tough sentence because of the disruption they caused to a secure government facility, and that terrorists would actually get even more time.